My stepdaughter is getting married soon, and while I thought I'd play a meaningful role in the process, I've come to realize how mistaken I was. She wants her real dad to walk her down the aisle, and honestly, I'm okay with that. But if he's the one stepping up for the ceremonial role, why shouldn't he step up financially too? The wedding is scheduled for August 3rd, and for the past 6 months, every waking moment of my girlfriend and her daughter has revolved around planning it. I've been in their lives for over a decade. While her mother and I never officially married, I've always acted like a father to her daughter. I paid for her college education, which wasn't cheap. It cost me $40,000, even at a state school. On top of that, she's been living with us for free throughout her college years and even after graduation last December. I also bought her a car to make her commute easier. I never complained because I believed I was doing the right thing as a father figure. But despite everything I've done, her real dad has always loomed in the background. He only pops in every now and then, making empty promises he never keeps, yet somehow he's the one she idolizes. He's contributed absolutely nothing. No money for her education, no child support, no real stability. My girlfriend didn't even include child support in their settlement, so the financial burden has always fallen on me. Still, she adores him. No matter how many times he disappears or breaks her heart, she's always ready to welcome him back into her life with open arms. When it came to the wedding, I was told the venue could host up to 250 guests. Since I'm the one funding this event, I gave them a list of 20 people. I wanted to invite friends and family who've been important to me. I thought this was a small and reasonable request, and they assured me it wouldn't be a problem. Trusting them, I told my 20 guests to save the date. On Saturday, I ran into one of my friends at the golf course. He was on my list, so I casually asked if he was coming to the wedding. His response shocked me. He told me he hadn't received an invitation, just an announcement. I was confused, so I asked to see it. Sure enough, it was just a generic announcement, and my name wasn't mentioned anywhere. Only her real dad and her mom were listed as the hosts. I felt a wave of anger rising inside me. That night, I confronted my girlfriend, and that's when the truth came out. None of the people I wanted to invite had made it onto the final guest list. Apparently, the guest list was too tight at 250 people, and they couldn't spare space for my 20 guests. My girlfriend tried to placate me by saying that if some people didn't RSVP, maybe a few of my friends could be added later. But the damage was already done. I felt completely disrespected. By Sunday, my frustration hadn't subsided. That evening, we had dinner with her future in-laws, my girlfriend, and an unexpected guest, her real dad. The meal was already uncomfortable for me. But things took a turn for the worse when my stepdaughter stood up to make an announcement. She was beaming as she revealed that her real dad would be attending the wedding after all. Not only that, but he would also be the one walking her down the aisle. The room erupted in applause and cheers. Meanwhile, I sat there stunned. My hands were trembling, and I felt a mix of anger and humiliation boiling inside me. It took everything in me to stay composed. After a few deep breaths, I decided I wasn't going to sit there in silence. I stood up, raised my glass, and said I'd like to make a toast. I want to thank everyone here, I began. It's been an honor to be part of this family for the past 10 years. Truly, I've learned so much. I could see smiles around the table, thinking I was about to say something heartwarming. But most importantly, I continued, I've learned my place. I once believed I was a respected member of this family, someone valued for more than what I could provide. But tonight, I see clearly that my role has always been something else entirely. I'm not a father figure. I'm not even family. I'm just the guy who pays the bills. The smiles faded, replaced by wide eyes and stunned silence. Since I've been replaced as host on the invitations and in the ceremony, I think it's only fair to hand over the financial responsibilities as well. From this moment forward, I'll be passing that torch to the real dad. After all, he's the one being honored as the father here. Cheers to the happy couple. I raised my glass, took a slow sip, and set it down. You can all see yourselves out. Then I walked away, leaving them to process what had just happened. After my toast and my abrupt exit, I could hear murmurs and whispers spreading through the room. No one dared to say anything directly to me. Instead, they sat there mumbling to each other, likely trying to figure out what had just happened. My girlfriend was furious. She yelled at me, calling me selfish. But I didn't care. I spent the rest of the night locked in my home office, I waited for someone to knock on my door. Maybe to apologize or try to talk things out, but no one did. By the next morning, I felt both drained and resolute. My girlfriend brought me the wedding planner in an attempt to guilt-trip me. She flipped through the pages, showing me all the time and effort that had gone into planning this wedding. "Look at everything we've done. You're ruining it," she said, shoving it toward me like it was supposed to change my mind. Out of curiosity, I skimmed through the planner. It didn't take long for me to notice a recurring theme. In the section for the father-daughter dance, every song choice was tailored to her real dad's taste. None of it reflected me or my relationship with her. As I read further, I noticed the menu included not one, but 2 ingredients I'm allergic to. That actually made me laugh out loud. It was as if they had gone out of their way to make sure I didn't feel like I belonged. At that moment, it became crystal clear that I had been nothing more than a convenient wallet to them. After handing the planner back to my girlfriend, I looked her in the eye and calmly said, "When can you and your daughter move out?" My voice was steady and I felt no hesitation. The truth is, I never actually promised to pay for the wedding. I offered my home when they said it would be a small event. But as the plans grew bigger and more extravagant, I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. The bride's family should pay. Well, if that's how they wanted it, then so be it. The bride's family could figure it out without me. That morning I moved every penny out of our joint account. My girlfriend hadn't worked since she moved in with me, so I wasn't about to let her access the funds. I also called all the vendors I had paid deposits to and requested refunds. Most of them were understanding and processed my requests. The venue was the only exception. I ended up losing about $1,500 on the deposit, but honestly, I considered it a small price to pay to free myself from this situation. In the immediate aftermath, my girlfriend threw a tantrum. She yelled, she cried, and she tried to argue, but I stayed calm. I wasn't about to be manipulated into reversing my decision. Eventually, she stormed off, leaving me in peace for the rest of the day. By the next day, things had taken a more serious turn. My girlfriend and her daughter began packing their belongings. They decided to move in with the groom. Watching them leave felt surreal. It wasn't an easy moment, but I knew I had made the right choice. As I helped them carry some of their things to the car, I fought the urge to be petty about what they were taking. Once they were gone, I changed the locks on the house. Later that day, I learned that my girlfriend had tried to write herself a check from our joint account before leaving. Fortunately, I had already moved the money, so her attempt failed. It only confirmed that I had made the right decision to protect myself financially. I've heard through the grapevine that they're scrambling to figure out what to do about the wedding. Apparently, they're trying to scale things back and convince the groom's family to contribute financially. But at this point, it's no longer my concern. I cracked open a beer and let out a long sigh. The entire ordeal left me emotionally drained, but I felt lighter. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. Maybe this wasn't how I imagined things turning out, but at least I had my self-respect intact.